Right, hi, welcome to McBean's. This is a follow-on of a little video we did in February. I think it's February at McBean's we called it. We've got a few queries, a few questions from that very video, so hopefully we'll answer things out here. I showed you on that one the sort of the structure of an orchid plant. People are getting a bit confused with the breeding lines and how we name things and how we get the seeds. So this is just a little one to tally with that. So go back and check up on the February one if you want. The breeding lines, I've tried to explain this time, is there's a line here, for instance. So this is Erythraeum, Cymbidium erythraeum. Now this is a plant I've bred. The original erythraeums are a bit tall, so I crossed two together to give us this smaller plant with a nice thin leaf. So the first cross we made with our new erythraeums, that's generation 1, is I crossed it with this fellow, which is a Monda. Okay, big classic McBean's Cymbidium with the big red lip, dark green. And from that cross we then went on and we ended up with these, which is Prince Louis. So this is Monda cross with the erythraeum. And the point of doing this is to make the thin leaf, the shortish flower spike, but a very, very old-fashioned flower. Okay. Now we've done that with 3 or 4 different varieties to rebuild the Cymbidium collection plant. Big Cymbidiums are big Cymbidiums. They can grow into massive great plants. I'll just show you another couple of crosses over here. So we crossed our erythraeum with this tiny little fella here, which is Nip. Okay, and from there we ended up with Prince George, which is a nice little plant. They come in slightly darker colours than that. It's the end of their season, really. We also crossed the erythraeum with Berwick. And from Berwick with erythraeum we get this, Princess Charlesworths. And these have been taking the world by storm. These are absolutely beautiful little pot plant. Very thin leaf, as you can see. Maybe a little bit tall, so I've made one other cross of that. Make another cross. We've used our erythraeum again, and this time we put it onto an American bred plant. This is Mighty Mouse Mini. Okay, and again it's a bit too cabbagey a flower and a bit too big a leaf for me. So by putting the erythraeum on, we've ended up with this, which hasn't been named as yet. So this is straight erythraeum cross with Mighty Mouse Mini. And again, it's gone back to that really old-fashioned plant, old-fashioned flowers, but again with that nice thin leaf. So that's what we're breeding to do. People are asking, how do we get the seed? Well, I can show you here. I've got a flower. These are Cymbidiums, by the way. So this is a big classic Cymbidium. It's easy to show you. The whole flower is designed to be, in fact, in this case, pollinated by a bee. Bumblebees will do it in this country, but they're not the natural pollinators. There's a range of bees that pollinate Cymbidiums. If you look, the lip is sprung-loaded. It bounces up and down. Okay, that's to push the insect to the top of the flower. There's 2 landing platforms there, and there's chevrons right down the throat there, if you can see, and it just tells the bee where the food is, where the nectar is. So we'll assume my finger's a bee. He lands on this bouncy platform. He has a drink down the bottom of the flower, and as he comes back up, he'll fly off and pick up the pollen on the back of its head. Now that, in fact, is a pollen there is covered by a small pollen cap there. So that's the actual pollen. That's the easiest to identify an orchid. You can't get hay fever from an orchid. It's always in these pollinia. So we'll assume my bee is now flying into a different flower, or in fact going the same flower if it wants, has a drink. Each time as it comes back up, the pollen is automatically captured, hopefully. It won't do it. There, by the anther, the female bit of the flower. So that's right underneath there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little sticky cup, and the glue that holds the pollen to the bee's head is only half as sticky as the glue on the female bit of the flower. Now the pollen grains grow down the back here, and this will become the seed pod. Now we've got one here somewhere. Here we go. There's a couple here, which we showed you again in the last one. So these are 2 seed pod. These were made about 11 months ago. So this one is actually ripe. So I'm going to take this off now, and we'll put it on the black paper so you can see the seed. A big pod like this can easily have 30 to 40,000 seed in it, no problem at all. Seed is wind-blown seed, so it's very, very fine. Okay. So there it sits there. So in nature, this seed pod would have dried out and twisted. So all these seed, each one is an orchid, and each one is a different orchid. they don't breed true. You can't just cross any two and end up with the parent, if that makes sense. If you made a cell thing, they'll all be different. Everyone will be slightly different. Well, you could go on forever, but there's quite a few thousand there, as you can see. Each one is a separate orchid, a complete genetic package. And they'll be sown in a laboratory. We just sow them in on agar in bottles and things like that, to just to give them all the nutrients that they would have had in nature. Our germination rate in captivity, so to speak, is about 98%. In nature, it's tiny. It's estimated it's 0.0000002% would ever flower, because in nature it relies on that seed landing near some fungus. So we do much, much better than nature. So eventually, these will grow. They'll come out of the laboratory, and then they get grown on and on and on for about another 4 years. Okay. Then we've got a batch of seedlings. Well, we'll show you up here. This is a cross of two plants. This is Loch Torrididon. Now, this is actually a green Loch Torrididon. Now, Loch Torrididon's got a lot of sort of bronzy colours in there, but this one's come green. And the one behind there is actually a Goldrun. Okay, so the cross here is Loch Torrididon cross Goldrun. And this entire bench here is Goldrun cross Loch Torrididons. And you can see how the colours vary slightly, not too much. So you've got the real sort of odd yellowy ones at the back, which have got a bit of gold in them, but you can see there is some of that bronze coming through. That's Goldrun Loch Torrididon variety trophy. So it's obviously not a named cross as yet, but it just shows you the variation right from those even into these big cabbagey, real strong green ones. This is called Goldrun cross Loch Torrididon variety AM, implying it's got an AM. And then the big one at the back is actually Ellie, Goldrun cross Loch Torrididon Ellie. He's actually doing the filming at the moment. You'll see in the next film we do. So it just shows the variation we'll get. So we have a rough idea of the sort of things that we can get. This is because we've been breeding for so long. Brian, could you come up here a minute, please? We've got loads of plants on the nursery which are over 100 years old. In fact, we've got one about 127 years old now. And talking of old things, let me introduce you Brian here. Brian, when did you start work at Charlesworth? 1955. Brian worked for a beautiful nursery in Haywards Heath called Charlesworth that specialised in these, the odontoglossums, which are now called Oncidiums. What was your first job, Brian?
Pot washing.
Pot washing, there you are. And now he's weeding, so he hasn't got much up in the scale in all that time.
Yeah,
so have you seen much change, you think, in the orchid world in that time?
Oh yeah, the way they, brought on, they produced seed plants and seed quicker.
Yeah. How long did it take Charlesworth?
What, to grow from seed to flower? About 9-10 years.
See, 9 to 10 years, and we reckon now 6 years. Yeah. So that's just the difference in all this time. So there we are. We have a little bit of living history here in Brian. There's not many 100-year-old orchid growers, you see. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Right, Ellie will just walk up and just show you some of the later flowering things we've got at the moment on the nursery. It's actually right at the middle of our flowering season now. So I reckon usually sort of February into March is the best, but we'll still have a few flowers around in April